Hello, my friends. Welcome back. I am very happy you are here with me today. Let us take a slow breath together. Now imagine a wide desert. The sun is warm. The sky is bright. And far away, rising from the sand, you see something so big, so quiet, and so powerful that it almost does not look real. You see the pyramids of Egypt. These great stone mountains were built by human hands. But how did people make them? Why did they build them? And what was life like for the people who worked there? Today we will walk together into that story. It is a true story from a very old world. A world of kings, stone, sun, and endless work. Our story begins more than 4,500 years ago. In the land of ancient Egypt. Egypt was a rich and beautiful kingdom. The Nile River gave water to the fields. The people grew wheat and vegetables. They raised animals. They built towns and temples. And above all, they believed deeply in life after death. The people of Egypt did not think death was the end. They believed that, after death, a person could live again in another world. But to live well in that next world, the body had to be protected, the spirit had to be honored, and the king had to be remembered forever. In Egypt, the king was called a pharaoh. The pharaoh was not only a ruler, he was also seen as a sacred person. Many Egyptians believed the pharaoh stood between the people and the gods. He kept order in the land. He made sure the gods were honored. He protected Egypt. So when a pharaoh died, his resting place had to be very special. It had to be strong. It had to be beautiful. It had to last for a very long time. This is where the story of the pyramids truly begins. Long before the Great Pyramids, Egyptian kings were buried in tombs called mastabas. A mastaba was a flat building made of mud brick or stone. It covered the burial place under the ground. These tombs were important, but over time, kings wanted something greater. They wanted something higher, something stronger, something that would show their power and their hope for eternal life. Then one day, a new idea appeared, and that idea changed history. About 4,600 years ago, a pharaoh named Djoser ruled Egypt. Djoser had a wise and talented man working for him. His name was Imhotep. Imhotep was an architect, a planner, a thinker. He looked at the old mastaba tombs and imagined something new. Instead of one flat level, he placed one mastaba on top of another, then another, slowly. The shape rose into the sky. This became the Step Pyramid at Saqqara. It is often seen as the first great pyramid in Egypt. It was a huge new idea. Stone, height, order, shape. It showed that Egypt had entered a new age of building. The Step Pyramid was not yet smooth like the famous pyramids we know today. It looked like giant steps reaching upward. But it was important because it opened a door. Egyptian builders learned many lessons from it. They learned how to work with large stone blocks. They learned how to organize many workers. They learned how to plan large projects over many years. Most of all, they learned that a king's tomb could become something much grander than ever before. The dream was growing. After Djoser, other pharaohs wanted to build even better pyramids. Builders tried new shapes, new angles, new ideas. Sometimes they made mistakes. One pyramid began at one angle and then changed shape partway up. Today, people call it the bent pyramid. Another pyramid was built with a lower angle and became more stable. Little by little, Egyptian architects learned what worked best. They were not guessing in a simple way. They were studying, measuring, correcting, improving. They were becoming masters of stone. Then came one of the most famous kings in history. His name was Khufu. The Greeks later called him Cheops. Khufu lived during the Old Kingdom of Egypt. This was a time when the kingdom was strong. The government was organized. The Nile brought life. The pharaoh had wealth, power, and many skilled workers. Khufu wanted a tomb greater than any before it. Not just large, not just beautiful, greater than anything the world had yet seen. Khufu chose a place called Giza. Giza stood on a rocky plateau near the Nile. It was a good place for a great monument. The ground was strong. The site was high. And from there, the pyramid could be seen from far away. The project would be enormous. It would take years. It would need planning, food, transport, stone, tools, and people. Many people. Not just workers with strong arms, but also architects, stone cutters, rope makers, boat builders, cooks, water carriers, guards, artists, priests, and managers. A pyramid was not one simple job. It was like building a whole world around one great idea. Before the first great stones were set in place, the builders had to prepare the land. They worked carefully to make the ground level. This was very important. If the ground was not even, the pyramid would not rise correctly. The base had to be exact. The shape had to be balanced. Egyptian builders were amazingly skilled. Even today, people are surprised by how accurate the Great Pyramid is. Its sides were carefully aligned with the directions of the world: north, south, east, and west. This was not an accident. It shows knowledge, observation, and deep care. Now let us imagine the stone itself. Where did it come from? Some of the limestone came from right there on the Giza Plateau. Workers cut blocks from the bedrock. Other fine white limestone came from Tura across the Nile. Granite for some inner rooms came from far away in Aswan, in the south of Egypt. That means builders had to cut, shape, move, and carry heavy stone over long distances. Some blocks weighed as much as a car. Some were even heavier. This was hard, serious work. And yet it was done again and again, day after day. Many people once believed the pyramids were built only by slaves. But modern discoveries tell a different story. The workers were not simply chains of miserable people forced without skill. Many were paid laborers and organized teams. Some were farmers who worked for part of the year when the Nile flooded their fields and farming stopped. Others were full-time skilled workers. Archaeologists have found workers' villages near Giza. They found bread ovens, sleeping places, tools, animal bones, and signs of medical care. This tells us the work was planned and supported. It was still hard, very hard, but it was not the simple slave story many people once imagined. Think for a moment about the workers waking before sunrise. The air is cool for a short time. Then the heat begins to grow. Men carry tools. Overseers count supplies. Someone brings water. Someone cuts stone. Someone pulls ropes. Someone shapes a block. Someone records numbers. There is noise, dust, sweat, calls from one team to another. The work does not stop quickly. A pyramid rises slowly, one stone at a time, one layer at a time, one season at a time. How did they move such heavy stones? This question has amazed people for centuries. The most accepted answer is simple in idea, even if the work was not simple at all. Workers likely pulled the stone blocks on sledges. A sledge is a flat wooden platform that can slide over the ground. When sand in front of the sledge was made wet, it became easier to pull. Workers could then drag the stone forward with ropes. It still took great strength and teamwork, but this method helped reduce friction. In other words, it made the heavy load move more easily. To lift the stones higher and higher, the builders probably used ramps. Exactly what every ramp looked like is still debated today. Some may have been straight. Some may have curved around the building. Some may have changed as the pyramid grew. But the main idea is clear. A ramp allowed workers to drag stones upward, little by little. As each level of the pyramid was finished, the next level could begin. The pyramid did not appear suddenly. It climbed toward the sky step by step, slow, careful, and steady. The Great Pyramid of Khufu was originally covered with smooth, white casing stones. These outer stones were polished, so well that sunlight shone brightly on them. Imagine seeing that in the ancient world. Not the rough pyramid we often see in pictures today, but a smooth, bright, almost glowing mountain of stone. It must have looked magnificent. It must have looked almost unreal in the desert light. The top may even have had a special capstone, perhaps covered in shining material. No one can say every detail with complete certainty, but it was surely designed to impress, to inspire, and to honor the king. Inside the pyramid, builders created passages and chambers. These inner spaces were not random. They had meaning and purpose. The king's burial chamber had to be protected. The structure above it had to bear great weight. The inside of the Great Pyramid shows clever engineering. Heavy granite blocks were placed in ways that helped carry the pressure away from the chamber. This tells us the builders did not only know how to stack stone, they understood how to make a building survive under immense weight. That knowledge came from experience, thought, and careful design. Khufu was not the only king at Giza. Near his Great Pyramid stand two more famous pyramids. One was built for his son, Khafre, the other for Menkaure, another king of the same royal line. Khafre's pyramid appears a little higher because it stands on slightly higher ground. Near Khafre's complex is the Great Sphinx, the giant stone figure with the body of a lion and the head of a king. Together, these monuments made Giza a place of royal power and sacred meaning. It was not just one building in the sand. It was a whole ceremonial landscape. But let us stay with the people, because behind every giant stone there was a human hand. Someone cut it. Someone moved it. Someone planned it. Someone fed the workers. Someone repaired tools. Someone cared for the sick. Some workers likely sang together as they pulled the ropes. Some joked quietly during meals. Some were proud to work on the king's monument. Some were tired beyond words. Some may have looked up at the rising structure and felt wonder. They were building something that would outlive them. Something their children might point to one day and say, "My father worked there. My brother worked there. My village sent men there." Archaeologists have found names for worker teams written on stones. Some teams had strong and lively names that sound almost like group titles or proud work gangs. This is a small but touching detail. It reminds us that the pyramid was not built by faceless shadows. It was built by real communities of people. People with names, with jokes, with hunger, with skill, with tired hands and strong backs. When we look at the pyramids, we are also looking at the memory of those workers. The work took many years. Historians often think the Great Pyramid may have taken around 20 years to complete, though details can still be discussed. That is a long time. A child could be born when the work began and be almost grown when it ended. During those years, food had to arrive regularly: bread, beer, onions, fish, meat for some workers, water in great amounts. Tools had to be made and repaired. Copper tools grew dull and needed sharpening. Stone hammers had to be used. Sledges had to be built. Boats had to carry supplies along the Nile. This was not only a building project, it was also an enormous national effort. And why did Egypt give so much energy to this one thing? Because for the Egyptians, it was never only one thing. It was religion. It was kingship. It was order. It was the hope of eternal life. The pyramid stood for stability. It stood for connection between earth and sky. It stood for the continuing power of the king even after death. To us today, a pyramid may look silent, but to ancient Egyptians, it was full of meaning, full of ritual, full of belief. There were temples beside the pyramids, too. Priests came there. Offerings were made there. Ceremonies continued there after the pharaoh's death. In this way, the pyramid was part of something larger. It was connected to prayer, memory, and royal honor. A pharaoh's name was meant to live on. His spirit was meant to continue. The pyramid helped make that possible in the minds of the people. Of course, time changes everything. The shining outer stones of many pyramids were later taken away and used in other buildings. Wind and sand moved across the plateau. Kingdoms rose and fell. Languages changed. Travelers came and wondered. Later peoples looked at the pyramids and asked the same questions we ask now. How did they do this? Why did they build this? What kind of world could make such things? For a long time, people from different places made wild guesses. Some imagined magic. Some imagined impossible machines. Some imagined secret lost knowledge from mysterious lands. But the truth is already amazing enough. Human beings did this. Ancient Egyptian builders did this with planning, organization, skill, faith, patience, and many years of work. The real story is more powerful than fantasy because it shows what people can do together when they believe in a great purpose. The pyramids were not built in one perfect moment. They came from many steps. First came simple tombs, then the step pyramid, then experiments, then greater confidence, then the great age of pyramid building. This matters because it reminds us that great wonders usually grow slowly. People learn, they try, they fail, they improve, and one day, what once seemed impossible stands before the world. Today, when visitors go to Giza, they often stand in silence for a moment. The pyramids are still powerful. They still rise from the earth with calm strength. Birds fly over them. Wind moves around them. The desert sun touches their stones, just as it did long ago. Cars and buses may come now. Cameras may click. But the feeling remains. Human beings made this long ago, and it still stands. Maybe that is one reason the pyramids touch our hearts. They remind us that people in the ancient world were not simple or foolish. They were intelligent, determined, creative. They watched the stars. They measured the ground. They worked with stone. They built with purpose. They loved life. They feared death. They hoped for something beyond this world. In many ways, they were different from us. But in many ways, they were also very much like us. Perhaps a young worker once sat at the end of a day and looked at the rising pyramid in the golden evening light. Maybe his hands hurt. Maybe his feet were tired. Maybe he missed his home. But maybe he also felt pride, a quiet pride, because he knew he was part of something enormous, something lasting, something that would speak long after his own voice was gone. And that is the quiet wonder of the pyramids. They are not only stones. They are human effort made visible. They are memory shaped into form. They are belief made solid. They are the dream of eternity rising from the desert floor. Even now, after thousands of years, they still tell their story without words. They simply stand there, calm, vast, patient, waiting for us to look up and remember. So when you think of the pyramids, do not only think of kings. Think of architects drawing plans. Think of workers pulling ropes. Think of boats on the Nile carrying stone. Think of cooks baking bread. Think of the hot sun, the dust, the songs, the prayers, the long years. All of these things helped create the pyramids, and all of them are part of the story. Thank you, my friends, for spending this peaceful time with me. I hope you enjoyed this journey into ancient Egypt. You are doing something wonderful every time you listen and learn in English. I am proud of you. Please tell me in the comments what story you would like to hear next. And if you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel and helps more learners find these calm English stories. Until next time, take care, keep learning, and have a peaceful day.